Jose, can you hear me?
not lead, but I'm a part of the oral report for the convention center. 8.
Mic check.
It should be.
Yeah. Morning, sir. Good. Hey, guys. How are you doing? So, Richard. Muir, is it you? Yeah, I uploaded, yeah. Huh? I have the presentation. Oh, now are you the one presenting? Yeah. Oh, it's Richard called me. Doing this. Yeah.
Mic check. 1 2 1 2. I am the great hunter, Nimrod, the destroyer of mankind.
Good morning. For any callers who wish to provide public multiple item or single item comments, please raise your hand so I can ask you to unmute and list your name for the record. I'll ask callers who wish to provide commentary on any of our items to please raise your hand. Good morning, Jennifer.
Good morning. I'd like public comment, please.
Okay, thank you.
I just have to cover the mic, so I just want to be close to it, right? Seth.
Hey, John, did you hear about the Woodland Hills Iranian woman selling information about our government? Yeah, she was trafficking arms from Woodland Hills, California. This nice Iranian woman, they busted her. Didn't I tell you guys that you gotta stop trafficking in all this corruption? Even the city attorney's in contempt of court. She might be abetting into these criminal activities of corruption. They had a presentation. They have your card. Yeah, just question the person. You to ask. As long as I turn in the card, or that person should be able to turn it.
Good morning, Gigi. Do you have public or multiple agenda item or single item comment today?
I just want general public comment, please.
Okay, thank you.
Well, senior design, they had, you know how they have their annual elections for like the president? I believe Chris is still on the commission, but,
Good morning, Miriam.
Good morning.
Hi, do you have
I
a
do have
public comment or general item comment?
public comment, please.
Thank you.
She was, but what we're gonna do is, we're gonna try to keep it on the desktop. There's not a, how do you access the pen drive? No, there's.
I think she's gonna come back because she has to bring the clicker.
Yeah, she has it prepared already. Yeah, she has it done already. But usually they put it on the desktop in case it's over. Okay, just copy and paste that. Oh, there it is. There it was. That's the one. And copy and paste to the desktop.
It's just not.
Yeah. Hey. I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
So you're gonna facilitate? Did you already do public comment?
Yeah.
I'll be able to, I want to reject it now. We can go, that's a great quick thing.
Do you want to check what?
Just in case something happens. Okay, let's do it.
Usually I drag and drop it into the.
It's here.
Okay.
there.
So then, yeah, you can eject it, no problem. Just right click on the drive.
Yeah, just right here and then click on that. Yeah. I appreciate it. And you got up the copies?
Good. Thanks.
He's trying to see if it works.
This one we did.
He
the other
said
day.
he used it with the for the PDF.
And it worked?
I don't know. They could.
Usually do.
Good morning, Laura FM. Do you have public or multiple item comment or single item comment today?
Hi, general public comment, please, and the minutes.
Thank you.
Just wanted to, President King, I'm friendly reminder that he did and that's item 1.
Would you like me?
I know.
Okay, good morning. We are now in record.
Thank you very much. Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the regularly scheduled meeting of the Board of Public Works for Wednesday, April 22nd, 2026. Ms. Reyes, please take roll and establish quorum.
I will, yes. President Kang, Vice President Chavez, President Pro Tem Grant, Commissioner Mitchell, and Commissioner Cardenas is out today. And we have Virginia Choi, City Attorney Representative, joining us today. And I am Sandy Reyes, facilitating this meeting this morning.
Thank you very much. We will get started with general public comment, which is an opportunity for the public to address the board on public interest items and will be provided up to 1 minute per person, up to a cumulative total of 10 minutes for the general public comment segment of each regular meeting. Testimony shall be limited in content to subject matters which are within the jurisdiction of the Board of Public Works. The board may not take any action on any matters discussed during the public comment period. We'll start with in-person speakers. First up, we have Michael. Is Michael in the room? Next speaker, we have Great Hunter.
Michael wishes not to be heard, but I am the hunter. I am the great Nimrod, the conqueror, the hunter, the betrayal of God's forbidden land that you, evil, corrupted criminal elements of God's society, you Nephilim, you monsters, you giants who create the lies that detain us in interest of no fucking purpose. Where is our public private streets for safety? Why do people have to be hit by scooters? Why do people on e-bikes have to be in our egress or on our sidewalks or in our streets, crisscrossing in traffic, causing safety issues? What fucking disguise is this, Ms. Chavez? Children walk the sidewalk and streets, Ms. Chavez. What do you care, Ms. Mitchell? Elderly, disabled people walk the fucking streets every day. And to you, Mr. Kang, God bless Donald J. Trump. Fuck your infrastructure.
Thank you very much. Next speaker, Laura. All right, Audit Alay.
Good morning. Oh, Laura is calling in, though. Good morning, everyone. I just wanted to keep talking about what I always talk about, these permits. I know. You could get rid of me real quick. Just fix this problem and I'll go get out of your hair. But the thing is, I know they're going to be doing an event in July. I'm asking you to force them to do it on their property because we're just sick and tired of having the community have their rights violated. The community is sick and tired of the abuse of the public and the fact that they can go cop shopping and just, it doesn't matter what your permits say. Like we can't keep tolerating that. They cannot be the one entity that, because I don't know, they're so scary or whatever it is, that they get away with just abusing your rules. And LAPD needs to be updated. You guys need to please educate LAPD that no, they cannot overturn the rules because they're not allowed to do this. So I'm asking you to please do something and revoke their R permit. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We'll now transition to our virtual platform.
Okay, we'll start with Jennifer. Jennifer, go ahead.
Good morning, Board. Today on World Earth Day, I am asking you to help the people of Los Angeles to not become prey to the cult of Scientology by stopping giving them permits to use public property. The permits that are granted are used to hold events disguised as neighborhood celebrations. These neighborhood celebrations try to trick the public into thinking Scientology is here to help the planet, when in reality it is here to scam as much money as possible from its followers. It's here to make senior citizens work until they die. It's here to physically and emotionally abuse its followers in its quest for power. Please stop giving Scientology permits so this abuse can end. I turn back my time.
Thank you, Jennifer. Next we have Gigi. And one moment. Thank you. Go ahead, Gigi.
Okay, so again, I question that permit that you guys gave to Scientology on Easter. Was that for a private event or for a public event? I'm pretty sure that they asked for it as a public event. I'm pretty sure that they advertised on Eventbrite and on Facebook. But the signs that they had there that were on barricades that bared your name said that it was a private event. So what is going on with that? I also wonder, did they have a permit to have live animals there? They had animals there there was no shade. They were there. I hope that they had water. I did not see these animals get any water, but that is animal abuse to have these animals there in the sun for hours and hours. I hope that they were permitted to have that, but they always violate, and you still give them permits. Stop giving them permits when they don't know how to follow the permits. Thank you. I yield my time.
Thank you. Next we have Merjam. Merjam, go ahead.
Thank you. I'm also calling about the permit matter regarding the cult of Scientology. Please look into this matter. If you are going to, which I hope you're not going to give a permit for them for the 4th of July, please make sure to send a city employee there to supervise the situation, as it's clearly doesn't seem to be enough that Audit LA is documenting and sending you all this information about the fact that they are not following the rules and they are blocking the sidewalks. This is not just a case of violating the permit rules, but it's also discrimination towards disabled people who have the right to use that public sidewalk just like anyone else. Besides, they have a huge parking lot, completely redundant. They can easily have their events on going forward. Have a nice day.
Thank you. Next we have Laura FM. Laura FM, go ahead.
Got to give me that unmute button. I want to echo what everybody else was just saying about revoking Scientology's permits. Please, it's your guys' ability, Mr. King, and your ability all on the board to say no more. Don't give them any more permits. They have a huge unused parking lot that they can use all of their manipulative tactic tools in their own property, not on city property, where they literally bully disabled people and people like me who want to just simply be in the event so that I can let them know what event they're being brought to under disguise of a religion. And if you're afraid of their religious status, then do something about it. Don't mix church and state. Stop giving them permits, period. When do you see a Christian church or any church, even right down the street, getting any permits? Why do you keep giving them permits? You're allowing the abuse. You're allowing family disconnection, child abuse. You're setting them up with these permits. You're
Thank you.
ruining
That's
our
time.
lives.
That concludes public comment.
Thank you very much. With that, we will close general public comment portion of today's meeting and move forward with multiple agenda item public comment. The board will provide an opportunity for members of the public wishing to speak on more than one agenda item during multiple agenda item comment period for up to a minute per item, up to a total of 3 minutes per meeting. This is the only time to speak on more than one agenda item, and please identify the items that you will speak on when you are called. We'll start with in-person speaker, Michael. Great. Hunter.
Have we not learned our lesson from the greatest tower in Bible time? That we used our infrastructure to build one society under one hunter. Nimrod the Great was evil, the son of a Canaanite, a son of a god. Not my God, maybe your false gods, the gods you worship. The gods that built pillars and call them their thrones. Gods who built infrastructure like the bridge with all the humps that Eric Garbage Garcetti built that has graffiti on it. Who does it idolize? It idolizes your defaults, your imperfections to sustain us in a life where we can control. Instead, we become lawless. A community where we give out permits to any Scientologist who wishes to block the egress, the sidewalks, the curb ramps with their fucking bullshit. Fuck Hubbard. Fuck Scientology. And fuck all false religion. I am here as a god. I am the son of a Nephilim, Azazel, the greatest. No, he was a fool. He believed he could be like God and make wrong decisions, John. He believed he could control the city coffers and allow this arena of people here who pad their wallets with the greed of the American people dollars. It's time to stop Scientology with these permits. It's time to enforce pay to play, motherfuckers. If you want to block a sidewalk, you pay the city. Right, John? Nancy don't give a fuck. Who the fuck is Nancy Pelosi? A dumb bitch with a big mouth, like our governor, who could have easily solved the problem in Woodland Hills by stopping the evil bitch from taking our information back to Iran. But Donald J. Trump, Bill O'Reilly, and David O'Carter are listening. We know about the revised funding for this fucking item here on number 2, affordable housing. Your fucking black mayor hasn't provided affordable housing. What makes you any better to allocate this kind of fucking money when you don't do a good job? I call it out. 42 U.S.C. 1983 politely. Fuck you.
Thank you very much. Auditor Lay.
Good morning again. I want to start with the minutes. Like, I know, I don't, a lot of places they do a basic, minutes. We're not asking for a lot, but it is a historical record. And I would love to see, like, we look back 2 years, okay, and there's all this, because you have to remember every single day that you guys have come to work, on this commission, you've heard about, right, about Scientology and its abuses. Not one day has gone by. But eventually, hopefully, that's going to change, right? And then they'll have a historical where people can look at the minutes and kind of see where things have been and where things are going, and things get fixed and things change. And not just our concerns, it's everyone's concerns. So like you could just put like Miriam called in and asked for, oversight at a permit, on-site permit thing, like this simple. And I think it's just most places do that. And I think you're not, I think you're kind of cheating the historical aspect of it and by not doing that. That's just my opinion. I also want to talk about neighborhood councils. I used to be on them. I am such a believer in them. And that's where even whether it's relating to Scientology or not, anything, just all the infrastructure, I think there needs to be more of a invitation or a connection, because it's not like the city council where, like they have more time because it goes through committees. But here it's like you're the committee and then it goes to the city council. So I would ask you to do more, because I don't think a lot of them really know about how to really connect like that. I saw something about where the money, I forget what number it is, where the money's going up again, and all these bids, like for the bids, I get concerned because that guy that came that one time, I can't forget that. It's always been, it was like kind of surreal hearing somebody saying, hey, I have this experience. I have a bidder who asked me to double my bid. And I hope that you guys took that seriously and are carrying that through, because that to me, that goes from just my conjecture, like, oh, I think this is probably could happen, to actually hear somebody saying, this happened and I'm here to be a whistleblower. And so now I'm concerned about all these other projects and all these other contracts, whether or not that's going on. And I'm also, always concerned about, because, whether it's doubling that up or also the part of, like the labor trafficking. I'm like, one of these days, what if somebody comes here and says, you know what, I was labor trafficked. I worked on this bid. But with Scientology, they took me from another country, brought me here and had me doing this rather than doing religious work. I mean, it could happen. Or, so I'm just asking you guys to really, because you do a lot of scrutiny. Like you look at your agendas, you guys are paying attention to like down to the dollar, down to the penny, like it says 0.11 cents. But we need you to do, like, from before it gets on this agenda, make sure they're doing right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. We'll now transition to our virtual platform.
We have Laura FM. Go ahead, Laura.
Thank you. I want to echo what Auto LA was just saying about the minutes. Please put on the record so it's historical and legal, so that we can literally have evidence showing, other than these Zoom calls, and the fact that your YouTube doesn't have exact time and dates of when every public board meeting is being held. It just says live public works. So if you can adjust that, that's a simple thing to adjust. That literally takes one person to just fix it, and one person to go over what was said on the minutes and to just type that in. So the fact that we keep calling about the minutes and nobody's reflecting it and it just says comments were taken, that's unacceptable. We're here trying to take down the cult of Scientology and you're giving them permits. They never need permits. So put it on the record. Put it on the record that we have 20 people calling every time there's a public works meeting or people coming in person. Auto LA has taken up so much of her time to get you guys to do the right thing. And one of the things is to adjust the minutes so that you can see when people are calling in asking to put the revocable permit on the agenda item as a possible revocation. Please do that. Don't just sit there and listen and say, yeah, we're totally on your side, and then you don't do anything by adjusting the minutes. So do that. Adjust the minutes so that the people in the crowd and the public record will show that there is a huge protest against the public works giving these permits to Scientology. It is a protest. It is evil. Scientology is evil. You guys should not be dealing with them whatsoever.
Thank you. That's time.
Whatsoever.
That concludes multiple item comment.
Thank you very much. With that, we will close the multiple item public comment portion of today's meeting and move forward with the approval of minutes for Monday, April 13th, 2026. Commissioners, any questions or comments? Seeing none, Is there a first and a second?
So move.
I'll second.
Second.
First by President Pro Tem Grant, seconded by myself.
And we'll move forward with the approval of minutes. President Kang?
Aye.
Vice President Chavez?
Aye.
President Pro Tem Grant?
Aye.
Commissioner Mitchell? Thank you. We have approval of minutes.
Thank you very much. Item number 1 for bid has been rescheduled to May 27th, 2026. Rescheduled to May 27th, 2026. Moving forward to consent items number 2 and 3. I'll move. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Vice President Chavez.
Thank you. President Kang?
Aye.
Vice President Chavez?
Aye.
President Pro Tem Grant?
Aye.
Commissioner Mitchell? All ayes, the item is adopted and carried forthwith. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Item number 4 from the Bureau of Engineering in Council District 2 and 6, revised TAS number 58.
Good morning, Board of Public Works and Commissioners. My name is Brian Powell. I'm the Senior Civil Engineer with the Bureau of Engineering's Clean Water Division. We're here today to request that the Board authorize a revision to Task Order Solicitation Number 58 to CDM Smith for an increase in budget authority from $4,692,000 to $6,320,000 for pre-design, design, bid and award, and design services during construction for the Lancashire Boulevard Local Area Urban Flow Management Network project. Just a bit of background, TOS 58, or Task Order Solicitation Number 58, was originally awarded in September of 2022. It was awarded with 2 projects, this Lancashire project and a Oro Vista project, but this report is specifically to revise the budget for the Lancashire project. This is a Measure W project located in the San Fernando Valley in Council Districts 2 and 6. The project spans 1.5 miles on Lancashire Boulevard and some of its side streets from Tuxford to Sherman Way. The proposed improvements include 8,615 linear feet of 42 to 72-inch new storm drain, 110 dry wells, 182 street trees, and 12,500 square feet of landscaped center medians, and 8,250 square feet of parkway planters. As of today, the total estimated construction cost is $77,374,000. Design is projected to finish at the end of 2026, with construction projected in the summer of 2027. The purpose for this revision, in early 2025, the Bureau of Engineering, led by our project managers and our environmental management group, held early CEQA consultations with the EPA, the Upper LA River Area Water Master, and LADWP. The agencies expressed concern with deep infiltration of the 110 proposed dry wells in the presence of known contaminated sites in the project area. Also potential mobilization of those contaminants into groundwater and potential negative impacts to the San Fernando Valley Area 1 Superfund site. The San Fernando Valley Area 1 Superfund is a known plume of contaminated groundwater currently regulated by the EPA and the Regional Water Quality Control Board and is actively being remediated. Therefore, in September 2025, and in agreement with our client, LA Sanitation, the design was paused to consider the potential negative impacts of the proposed dry wells and review if the dry wells can be relocated to mitigate potential negative impacts to the groundwater plume. BOE and LA San collectively made the decision to avoid the use of dry wells and deep infiltration in this area to avoid legal liabilities related to the potential negative impacts to the Superfund site. Therefore, BOE requested a proposal from CDM Smith to study alternative Green Street best management practice improvements and provide recommendations to replace those dry wells. BOE negotiated a proposal in the amount of $290,000. The alternative BMPs recommended by the study would be implemented through an additional future change order to modify the designs. Also, a second but separate item. Currently, Caltrans pumps and discharges stormwater directly onto Lancashire Boulevard. It's in the news every year. This section of Lancashire experiences severe flooding and is conveyed by the street, curb, and gutter. There are no existing storm drains. We are proposing to extend the storm drain from included in our project an extra 2,300 linear feet north to the 5 freeway from the intersection of Tuxford and Lancashire, which our project currently ends, to convey the excess discharge with a proper storm drain system. This expanded scope includes the designs, the hydrologic and hydraulic analysis, stormwater sampling, and traffic control plans. BOE negotiated this proposal in the amount of $537,000. Just to, I guess just a word on the additional cost of the storm drains, specifically for construction. LA Sanitation is coordinating with Caltrans for financial contributions for the storm drain component. Caltrans' initial estimate for their contribution is up to $15 million. This project was heard at the March 2026 California Transportation Commission meeting with a recommendation that the project be adopted in their 2028 State Highway Operation and Protection Program, also known as SHOP. Funds will be available in the fiscal year 2030-31 with the potential to advance funds as early as fiscal year 2028-2029. So the total proposed increase is $1,628,000. That will include contingency and will cover the cost of additional work discussed here in this report and also anticipated future change orders that we know are very likely based on the recommended alternative BMPs. In terms of the business inclusion program, CDM Smith has complying with all of the BIP requirements. They are meeting or exceeding their pledges for all 5 categories. In terms of the status of funding, there is no impact to the general fund. Funding for this project is provided in total by, at least for the design, by the Safe Clean Water Regional Program. So that concludes my report, and I'm ready to take any questions.
Thank you very much. Commissioners, any questions or comments on this item number 4? VP Chavez.
Yes, thank you. So if I understand this correctly, the EPA consultations about the contamination occurred in January and February of 2025. Is that correct?
Yes.
And then, subsequently the board, this came to the board and we authorized the original task order in June. Is that correct?
Sorry, the timeline, yeah, so so this is the 3rd board report. We had 2 previous board reports. So the original task order solicitation for pre-design and design was awarded in September of 2022. And then there was a 2nd board report that was to modify the budget for the Oro Vista project and did not revise the Lancashire project. So design, we started pre-design end of 2022. We wrapped up pre-design in around 2023.
So help me understand, why did the subsequent report proceed with the original approach as the basis when the agency concerns had already been raised prior to that?
We had completed pre-design, looked at all of the, evaluated all of the alternatives. We proceeded with design, but we stopped before we got to 50% design, because at the beginning of design is when we engaged our environmental management group to start the technical studies. But before they started the technical studies, they had these early consultations with the regulatory agencies. So that's when we were made aware of the concerns, and that's when we had stopped the design.
And when did that occur?
I'm sorry?
When did the designs, you said you stopped at 50%, when did that occur?
Yeah, we stopped at 50%, and that was September of 2025.
Okay, so it took from January to September to, from when you were first notified by the agencies about the concerns, and so
Right.
the design was moving
Before
forward?
we had completely decided to stop the design, we were looking to see if there's a way to mitigate the issues by maybe just modifying the design. You mentioned we tried to relocate the dry wells off of Lancashire Boulevard, maybe on some other side streets, further away from the areas that we know are contaminated. But that proved, the focus was to keep the storm drain on Lancashire, so we could only move so far before we kind of changed the project from what its original intended purpose. And also just that kind of that would expand the footprint of the project and make it more cost prohibitive. So ultimately, the decision was made to avoid dry wells altogether.
Okay. And the current contingency that you're seeking approval for is explicitly described as, quote, anticipating major redesign costs. So I'm just trying to understand that is there going to be another task order revision coming in the future in addition to this one?
So
Is that anticipated?
Right. We request. I would hope that we requested enough contingency that will be able to cover any future design changes without having to return to the board without a revision. So we tried to account for enough contingency, knowing that once we complete the study to evaluate alternative BMPs, that we're going to then need to incorporate those into the designs. So we accounted for that.
Is there still concern that even with this new design that there's still a potential for localized flooding that may occur, from surge flows, right? That was from the Caltrans pump station. Right. And how is that going to impact our safe, clean water goals that we're espousing for this program?
Yeah, our goal is to replace the dry wells with another green type of BMP, but we don't want to touch the storm drain. So the storm drain, as originally proposed, will stay within the project. So that should mitigate the flooding.
I'm sorry, say that part again.
The storm drains should mitigate the flooding. We are
mitigate.
Should, yeah.
Should.
We're not changing the design for the storm drains.
Okay. So is there a trigger point for if there's going to be another task order? At what point? I'm just trying to understand. We don't want to repeat the same mistakes. So we want to maybe keep an eye on this so that we're not shifting midstream again and having to stop work further down the line, make those adjustments sooner rather than later, so that, we can still keep the project on track, hit the Safe Clean Water program milestones intact, because at some point, the benefits are going to be outweighed by the costs here. So I'm just curious what that analysis looks like internally.
Well, right now we still anticipate hopefully not having to come back for a task order revision. We should have accounted to, I guess, leave enough contingency to finish the design. We're still anticipating to finish the design by the end of this year and start construction by summer of next year. So we'll march right along to 90% design, and we'll mitigate any changes from this point on.
Okay. I would ask that if there does come before the board, if you do think that there's going to be an additional authorization needed by this board for additional funding, that there be a comprehensive project status report before that, just so that we understand the current timeline versus the original schedule, and just what the total projected cost to completion, given all these redesigns that are going to be needed, and also what the revised Safe Clean Water program projections would be as well.
Absolutely.
All right, that'd be appreciated. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Quick question related to, I know Vice President Chavez raised Caltrans, and I know sometimes we do have some issues related to coordination. Have they formally committed to coordination with us, and are there cost-sharing opportunities that we can be had?
Yeah, they've committed, so they're approved up to $15 million. Now, that doesn't mean we'll receive $15 million. Part of that will depend on the analysis, we call it a waste load analysis. So depending on how much of their stormwater runoff we end up capturing and how much of their pollutant load we end up capturing, that'll determine, there's some math in there, and that'll determine how much of the $15 million will contribute towards construction.
My last question is related to, I know we're early in the process, but once the construction kind of ramps up on Lancashire, I know that's a major thoroughfare, have we thought about sort of the traffic impact?
Yeah, I mean, there will be, the storm drain goes right down the middle of Lancashire, so it will be a pretty significant impact. We regularly prepare traffic control plans to accommodate the construction on Lancashire Boulevard, and we also have a pretty extensive outreach program that is typical of Measure W projects. So before we, as we near construction, maybe 6 months out, we'll increase that outreach and make sure that the community is aware of the schedule and the impacts that are upcoming.
Okay, thank you. Oh,
One
Vice
more
President
thing.
Chavez, yes.
I noticed that the public outreach funding for this project was reduced here. I'm just curious, who is taking the lead on the outreach?
Well, the lead is Sanitation's Public Affairs Office.
Okay.
They are supplemented by our sub-consultant outreach firm. I'd have to take a look at the exact dollar amounts, but they're still on board with the project and still ready to implement any outreach plans.
Okay, I just want to ensure that because this is an industrial corridor, and I know that there are environmental justice concerns by this community, I want to ensure that the community members have meaningful access to the project's progress and are informed. So I just want to make sure that. So if I can just get a little update from LA San on that.
Sure, and I will just point out, we have, just from what I'm seeing here, we have 2 firms that are helping us with outreach. It's Harrison Company. They have a task amount of $185,000, and Mujeres de la Tierra for $30,000. So that's a pretty healthy outreach budget.
All right, thank you very much. Any other questions or comments? Seeing none, is there a first and a second?
So move.
Second.
First by President Pro Tem Grant, seconded by Vice President Chavez.
Thank you, and we'll tabulate the votes for this item. President Kang?
Aye.
Vice President Chavez?
Aye.
President Pro Tem Grant?
Aye.
Commissioner Mitchell? All ayes, and this item is adopted and carried forthwith.
Thank you very much. Moving on to item number 5, quarterly acceptance report for emergency sewer storm drain repair.
Good morning, President Kang and Commissioners. Safi Wiles, Bureau of Contract Administration. Recommending the acceptance of the emergency sewer and storm drain quarterly report, which encompasses 46 construction orders that were conducted between May of 2017 and July of last year. These 46 construction orders represent a subset of the emergency sewer and storm drain repair work inspected by the Bureau of Contract Administration during this reporting period, initiated by the Bureau of Sanitation to make necessary repairs to the city's damaged sewer and storm drain systems. The cost and scope of work were valued from about $4,000 to a little under $500,000 and ranged from sewer and storm drain mainline repairs, including spot repairs and cleaning, to complete removal and replacement of infrastructure. These projects were performed either on a time and material basis and or agreed price basis. There are no funds disputed or withheld, therefore no funds are due the contractor. Additionally, the contractors, 22 in total on our on-call list, complied with the equal employment opportunity and labor compliance requirements of the respective contracts. There were no business enterprise participation levels, therefore due to the emergency nature of the work, and no unresolved property owners' complaints for any of the projects. And that concludes my report.
Thank you very much. Commissioners, any questions or comments? I have a couple. I'm seeing that the project range is from like 2017 to 2025. What's the reason for the long reporting window?
It's just continues to be a work in progress, President Kang. With the backlog, we receive hundreds, thousands of inspections per year, and we are working on that backlog.
Okay, understood. And then I know, depending on the emergency, the project costs really vary from a couple thousand to in the hundreds of thousands. So are there thresholds that are within the Bureau that shift from whether that's an emergency to a more of a planned project delivery?
It just depends when the inspection team comes out with engineering and sanitation. Based on the scope of work, if it's decided that it's beyond a time and material basis, it can then move forward to a competitive bid or agreed price with contractors. So it just depends on the initial review of the emergency at the time.
Okay. And my last question is just out of curiosity, among the 15 council districts, are there any particular district that are more prone or we're seeing larger trends among the 15?
President Kang, we can get back to you on that information. Our aging infrastructure is at least 100 years old, so it could be citywide.
Okay.
Yes.
Understood. Thank you very much. Any other questions or comments? All right, seeing none, I'll move. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by President Pro Tem Grant.
Thank you.
Thank you. We will tabulate the votes for item 5. President King?
Aye.
Vice President Chavez?
Aye.
President Pro Tem Grant?
Aye.
Commissioner Mitchell? All ayes. This item is adopted and carried forthwith.
Thank you very much. Moving on to item number 6 in Council District 15, contract award for Toro Enterprise, Inc.
Good morning, President King and Vice President Chavez, President Pro Tempore Grant, and Board of Public Works Commissioners. My name is Joe Lin, and I'm here with Mr. Fadi Abu. We're with the Bureau of Engineering, Street Improvement Division. I'm the project manager of the Active Transportation Program, Cycle 4, 112th Street and Flournoy Elementary School Safety Improvement Project. This is to request for the Board of Public Works to authorize awarding the construction contract of the project to Toro Enterprise in the contract amount of $5.98 million. To give you the background information of the project's located in Council District 15 in the Watts neighborhood of Los Angeles. The project will implement traffic calming measures and pedestrian and bicyclist safety enhancements within a quarter-mile vicinity of 112th Street School and Flournoy Elementary Schools. The project elements include installing curb extensions, upgrading pedestrian access ramps to the current ADA standards. We'll be installing pedestrian lighting, traffic signal, and striping modifications. And we'll also be installing bike lanes and improving the bicycle infrastructure. The project is funded by the Active Transportation Program federal grant. And the project has been reviewed for environmental considerations, and it was determined to be categorically exempt per provisions under California Environmental Quality Act, also known as CEQA, and National Environmental Policy Act, also known as NEPA. Since the project is a federally funded project, it is subject to the Caltrans Disadvantaged Business Enterprise Program, also known as DBE. The project was initially advertised with an established DBE goal of 21%. However, the interim final rule from U.S. Department of Transportation issued that DBE monitoring and penalties are suspended until the businesses can be recertified. We have notified the changes to the DBE requirements to the bidders during the bidding process, and we will also be continue to monitor the project in coordination with Caltrans to ensure that the contract is in compliance with the US DOT requirements. Our city engineer estimate for the construction of the project is $4.5 million, and the lowest bids we received is $5.98 million from Toro Enterprise Incorporation, and it is about 32.92% higher than the city estimate. And subcontractor participation pledged by the contractor is 31.53%. The contract duration is set to 450 calendar days, and funding source for this project were identified by LADOT, which includes both federal and local city funds, and they are listed in there's a table under the status of funding section of the board report. Bureau of Contract Administration Office of Contract Compliance conducted a review of the bidder and determined that Toro Enterprise Incorporation to be the lowest responsive and responsible bidder. Therefore, we recommend that the Board of Public Works to award the contract to Toro Enterprise Incorporation for this project. This concludes my report, and I'll be here to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you very much. Commissioners, any questions or comments? Vice President Chavez.
Yes, I understand that there's a local match requirement, which is TBD, not determined, not identified yet, but this board is being asked to approve before those fundings have been identified. I'm just asking because this has already happened in the past when the local funds are not available and it puts the project at risk. What's the plan if those funds are not received? Is there a plan to change the scope or pause or seek alternative funding?
LADOT is the fund manager for this project, and they assure us that this project will be funded 100% through LADOT fund, and then just that at this point, they couldn't identify the fund account for that TBD. It could be coming from SB1 or it could be Measure M, but they assure us that this will be one of those LADOT fund.
Okay. So I'm sorry, I only heard part of what you said. So you said DOT has assured you that, so we have an assurance from the department.
The LADOT fund, AGM, have been reviewed this funding table, and then they approved that. So, yes.
Yeah, just to elaborate a little more, we've talked to DOT in depth about this, and they assured us that they have the proper funds. They just didn't identify the specific accounts.
Oh, I see. Okay.
In the possibility that there is, to answer your question, we do have additional CTIEP, ATP gap funding we can possibly use, or we can work with DOT to possibly reduce the scope of the project if needed.
Okay, appreciate that. And then also too, I noticed this is this contractor's first contract, and I'm just wondering what oversight do we have in place or protocols for first-time contractors on projects on this type of work?
I could speak on that. The OCC has checked with various state agencies, and none of these agencies reported any kind of prior labor compliance problems on file with the contractor. So their record is pretty clean with regards to that.
Okay, appreciate that. All right, thank you.
Thank you. One quick question. I drop off my daughter to school every day, so I'm very mindful of construction near schools. And I'm sure we're being mindful of coordination plans to minimize any disruptions, but just wanted to make sure that we're taking into account school calendar days.
Yes, all the constructions are scheduled to be occur on non-school days. That's in the contract, yes.
Okay. Is that why it was kind of the entire duration is about 15 months to kind of avoid certain school days?
That's part of it, yes.
Okay. And the last question is, I know this board really wants to help kind of robust participation in all of our bids and contracting. I know only 2 entities participated for this contract. Do you know the reason why we didn't see a larger number of participation for this particular item?
I would say at the time, that's something we have to look into. We can't answer that confidently at the moment.
Okay. I think this board, we would love to help any way that we can to help kind of increase the level of participation so that the city is receiving the best level of services. So please circle back with us. Thank you very much. With that, I will move on this item. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Vice President Chavez.
Okay, we'll tabulate the votes for item 6. President Kang,
Aye.
Vice President Chavez.
Aye.
President Pro Tem Grant.
Aye.
Commissioner Mitchell. All ayes, the item is adopted and carried forthwith.
Thank you very much. Moving on to our 2 reports. First up, we have the Bureau of Street Services with the city trees update.
Good morning, Honorable Board of Public Works. My name is Brian with Streets LA, and I am pleased to bring before you the semi-annual report for fiscal year 25-26. This report covers from July 25 to December of 2025. For the MyLA 311 service requests, UFD received a total of 15,016 MyLA 311 service requests, which included 7,095 emergencies, 3,641 inspections, 3,586 obstructions, and 694 violations. Amongst all of these, the average tree emergency initial response time was a day. That it involves us getting out to the actual location and assessing it. And the final cleanup time averaged less than 3 days. And this did include the rain and wind events that we received early in this year. Our goal is always to maintain outstanding service and service equitably throughout the city. As for the tree planting permits, UFD continues to support tree planting initiatives by many community-based organizations, other partner divisions such as LA Sanitation, LA Department of Transportation, Bureau of Engineering, etc. And we provide them with EAM or Enterprise Asset Management data to look ahead for grants and issue necessary permits in a timely manner in alignment with our current resources. For the land development category, UFD is supporting the various mayor's executive directives, and through its endeavor, UFD processed a total of 866 clearances and issued 230 permits for the land development. As for tree trimming, UFD set a goal of 40,000 trees to be trimmed for this fiscal year, covering, again, this 6-month period from July through December. We were at 17,650 trees trimmed across all programs. For tree and stump removal, UFD is actively engaged in removing dead, dying, diseased trees and stumps citywide, and we removed 1,393 combined across all programs. As for the landscape medians, the City of Los Angeles maintains a total of 10.5 million square feet of landscaped medians. The 4 landscape median contracts are serviced once every 2 weeks. And on December 16th, 2025, Streets LA, in concurrence with the Board of Public Works, terminated one of these contracts due to contractor default and failure to cure deficiencies. To offset this, Streets LA is currently working on developing new landscape maintenance contracts that will be advertised soon. As for the tree planting that the division actively takes part in, UFD continues its effort to sustain the street tree population, and we planted a total of 213 trees for that initial part of the fiscal year, and we have a set goal of 500 trees to be planted for hopefully by the end of July, we'll get all of those trees planted. For the watering and maintenance of these trees, UFD watering crews are currently watering and maintaining approximately 3,000 street trees in various establishment periods citywide. The total tree watering includes some of the trees that were planted by the nonprofit groups, other city departments, and approximately 15% of the trees that we are watering currently are from some community-based organizations or Bureau of Engineering capital improvement projects, as their grants and funding sources could not cover the watering and establishment and only covered the planting. for the BOE Sidewalk Repair Program. In collaboration with the BOE, all work combined, UFD trimmed and root pruned 71 trees, removed 9 trees, and replanted 20 trees, again, just for this sidewalk repair program. And UFD arborists inspected and assessed 42 rebate locations, 511 access request locations, and issued a total of 75 permits for that program. For the Palisades update, 6,056 total sites were assessed, and I have a breakdown here. The assessments performed revealed that 3,560 trees were set to be monitored, preserved in place. 258 trees were slated for removal by the contractor. There were 1,209 vacant sites just in the Palisades, which is future opportunity for planting when time is right. And there were 763 stumps to be removed. Once those stumps are removed, those are also potential replanting locations. And there were 263 obsolete sites that were not feasible for planting. This concludes my report. I'd be happy to take any questions or feedback back to my division from this board.
Thank you very much. First question from President Pro Tem Grant.
Thank you, Brian. I have a couple questions. I was unclear. You had a 44,000 trees to be planted. Was that, did I hear that? A goal of?
That was the, I believe the trimming was 40,000 trees to be trimmed.
And we've hit 17,000?
Yeah, for that period. From July to December, we were at 17,650.
And so we've got to make up another 20, more than half, right? And are we on schedule to reach that goal of?
I can say we are on target. We are a little behind on those numbers. What accounts for that
delay?
Falling behind, I can definitely say it's the having to reallocate our trimming resources during wind events. So really, we have to break up our trimming operations to go address the high priority calls. We did have a high volume of that, so most of that falling behind accounts for that, those emergency response times.
And then secondly, I'm understood that trees should be trimmed every 5 to 7 years is the optimum. What are we at now? What's the sense of where we're at?
That is correct. It's a 5 to 7 recommended trim cycle for best management practices in urban arboriculture. And I believe the city, we are like on a 17-year trim cycle. So we're quite behind with that.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any other questions? Vice President Chavez.
Yeah, just some comments. I think this report offers a very mixed picture. Now, on the one hand, I think it really shows how strong this division is when responding to emergencies. The emergency response, like as you mentioned, after wind events is really impressive. What the staff is able to do in you know, when nature strikes, the crews respond. But then when it comes to sort of the maintenance, the planting and the trimming, those are tracking below what our goals are. And here we are at the midway, right? This represents the midway mark of the fiscal year. You know, one suggestion I think could help capture a little bit more accurately the amount of work that the crews are doing, because, you know, not all trees are the same. Some trees, especially when many years go by and they haven't trimmed, there's a lot of vegetation. I've seen the amount of greenery that is trimmed. It's not a trimming, it's much more than that. It's much more intensive. So I'm just curious if there's an ability to track volume somehow, whether it's cubic feet or how many truckloads or, you know, however, whatever's easier. I think that would actually provide a better picture of the work that is being conducted here. So that's just one thing. Another thing is something you said really brought this to my attention is the cost absorption that that crews are taking on due to CBO and CBOs and these capital projects that we're doing, where the grants are not covering the watering costs, the long-term watering, and we're absorbing this. I think it's really important that we quantify this. Is that something that you can report back to us on? This ongoing cost. 15% of the 3,000 trees are unforeseen watering requirements. So I'd love to know what that means in terms of dollars.
Definitely.
And then the last point that I wanted to make is, I guess it's more of a question on the Palisades recovery. I think this is probably what those community members are all waiting to know. All these the fire-affected neighborhoods wanting to know is when can the replanting be expected, and will the community have input on the types of species, given fire resilience and water considerations. So is that something that you can provide a report separately on, just to give us a better picture of what that looks like?
Definitely. So I made notes here. I'll definitely get back to the division and be able to provide a little bit more comprehensive responses to different points. I can say that there are conversations, there's engagement occurring from Streets LA to several stakeholders, to include the council office, regarding the replanting. I'd be more than happy to bring back something a little bit more thorough, but I am aware that there is that engagement currently happening at this point.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Just one request on my end is, I think this is, I love sort of a short and succinct reports like this, but I think it would be helpful for all of us if when you have these numbers, if you can also indicate whether that's on track to meet your deliverables or your metrics for the fiscal year, whether that's the tree trimming number that you're, set, whether that 17,650 is sort of on track to meet the 40,000, along with the plantings and any other types of metrics you have on the report.
Definitely. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much. Any other questions or comments? All right. Thank you very much. Our final item for today is a report related to the Los Angeles Convention Center expansion from the Bureau of Engineering. Please start while we're getting this situated.
Sure. I need to click, there needs to be set up where I can click the presentation. Good morning, Norm Malhus, Bureau of Engineering, Convention Center Division. So, next slide. Next slide. Today we'll be talking about, this is our update to the project for April. We'll be going over project highlights, executive dashboard, monthly key activity schedules, payments to date, and then Bureau of Contract Administration will come and provide updates on the project labor agreement progress on the targeted hire hours requirements, business inclusion program, including the pledged subcontractor participation progress, and then the last 4 weeks ending April 3rd. 30-day look ahead, and then the key risk topics and mitigation strategy. So the picture you see in front of you is what the project looked like from an aerial view on the Pico Road on March 30th, 2026. To remind everyone, the scope of work is doing a network station, utility control center, and this expansion project, which will span the West Hall and the South Hall, including 190,000 square feet of additional space, 39,000 square feet of additional meeting room space. And it's going to be multi-level, which will, transcend the 2 existing spaces. And then we're going to have large six digital signs, across the space itself, which will be a very exuberant feature. The next slide shows some of the project highlights. They've already started the West Hall demolition, which they need to do in order to integrate the spaces. The next slide shows the diesel fuel tank clean out. And they were cleaning this fuel tank because they're going to have to demo a couple of the bays on the existing ramp. And they wanted to avoid any contamination surrounding the area. And then they will rebuild the ramp at a later time. The next photo is the existing area conditions where you see on the South Hall. They've actually, if you see it right now, they've removed the the Crypto.com Arena and LA Convention Center signage already. And that's what they were about to do at that time. And also remove some of the facades that you see here and that green wall. The next slide is the executive dashboard. Olympics readiness deadline is March 31st, 2028. Our exclusive use period, June 1st, 2028 to September 30th, 2028, with substantial completion being February 9th, 2029, and then final completion May 11th, 2029. Right now, as of this update, it was 9 days behind schedule, but I'm pleased to report in the March update that we're at 0 days. So we have recovered those days. Some of the next milestones that we see, we're going to start doing the piles or start doing the integration for the piles, doing some hydrovac and also utility testing. But some of these other milestones, Mayor's Office, developer, and BOE and authorities having jurisdiction aligned on the phased permitting strategy on the fire life and safety and smoke control system, approvals to protect the Olympics readiness milestone. We had this meeting on March 19th, and that was a big milestone meeting with all the hands in the room. And the date here that indicates April 10th about shared detailed phasing, permitting, and execution timeline for alignment on strategy, that date should be corrected to March 27th. That's when that was submitted by the joint venture. Then early foundation permit approval via an alternative design approach with remaining authorities having jurisdiction, comments to be addressed. Fire control center, a network station core, and shell permits received with some mechanical, electrical, plumbing approvals in progress. I'll explain these in a little more detail on the subsequent slides. As you guys know from the prior update, our total project budget currently is $2.2 billion with a base scope of $1.6 billion with an allowance of $345 million and contingency of $292 million. We've executed we have four allowance item orders containing two allowances for Department of Water and Power, another one for digital signage, and the last one for the kitchen scope of total executed amount of $58 million. Not meaning that we've paid $58 million, but that's the total authorized to date. And they're currently submitting allowance items as needed when they do their work. And there's no change orders executed to date.
The next slide is the monthly key schedule activity slide. I'm going to try to describe it a little bit differently. I know there's a lot of line items here. So right now we're completing all the utility work in the field, and this is all utility relocation from Department of Water and Power, AT&T, SoCalGas, and other purveyors that we see. And this utility work is to make sure that our current existing project doesn't conflict with these utilities, and it's also to create new utilities to the new space. And we're almost through with that work, so that's very great. It took a lot of coordination. I want to definitely thank the joint venture. I want to thank Department of Water and Power and all these other utility companies for getting it done and just doing a great job, being cooperative, knowing what our schedule and deadline is. What's next is they're going to be doing the micro piles and the foundation work, and then shortly after that will be the structural steel work and the facade and the interior for the building to essentially complete the building by March 31st, 2028. On an existing path, we're also looking at upgrading the existing facilities, both the West Hall and South Hall, with new equipment. But in regards to that scope, that's still being determined because there may be a change of scope, and I'll explain that a little bit later in the presentation. But that will conclude after the Olympics deadline, and will be done prior to the completion deadline and substantial completion deadline. The next slide here shows the status of payments. As of February, there's a cumulative payments to the joint venture of $188 million, which is a large amount. And we're expected to follow through with the progress to be able to spend at least the full base scope, $1.6 billion, by the end of the project. For this next two slides, I'm going to have Bureau of Contract Administration provide an update. Good morning, Board. My name is Ian Monte, representing the Bureau of Contract Administration's Office of Contract Compliance. And this next slide is the project's progress with targeted hiring of the Department of Public Works Project Labor Agreement. For those that aren't aware, the DPW PLA, as we affectionately refer to it, has 3 targeted hiring requirements. The first, at least 30% of all of the project hours must be performed by city residents. The second and third, which are contained within that 30%, are as follows. At least 50% or half of all of the apprentice hours need to be performed by local residents that are bona fide apprentices or in a bona fide apprenticeship program. And finally, at least 10% of the total project hours need to be performed by city residents that have some sort of barrier to employment, in which we refer to them as transitional workers. At the time of the report submittal, the project had performed 140,707.11 hours with 42,455.30 hours being performed by local workers, otherwise 35%, which is above the goal or requirement. Additionally, there have been 23,279.12 apprentice hours. Of that, 10,367.12 or 45% were performed by local apprentices. And finally, 8,678.37 hours or 6% of the total hours were performed by transitional workers. Now, while these additional numbers I'm going to provide aren't a part of the PLA, it does help to give some context to what's happening with the actual workforce. So at the time of the report, there were 31 verified contractors who performed those on 140,000 hours. Those contractors submitted 476 certified payrolls that featured 557 workers. Of that workforce, 171 of those workers were local. Additionally, there were 89 apprentices on the project, of which 39 of them were local. And of the 89 apprentices, 21 were first period apprentices, which means this is either their first construction job or one of their first construction jobs. And of that, 13 of those first period apprentices were local. Finally, there are 45 transitional workers that were on the project as of the date of this report being submitted. Thank you.
Good morning, Commissioners. Patricia Fuentes from the Bureau of Contract Administration, Office of Contract Compliance. I'll be presenting the numbers or the percentages for the Business Inclusion Program Pledge Subcontractor Participation Progress. For the pledge participation percentages or amounts, dollar amounts, for the minority business and enterprise, the pledged amount or the dollar amount is 10.9 million. There was an increase in percentages from for 1 by 0.1% or 1% from the last monthly report, which is now 0.55% for MBE. For WBE, there was an increase of 0.04%. For the small business enterprise, there was an increase of 0.17%. For the disabled veteran business enterprise, there was an increase of 0.05%. For local business enterprise, there was an increase of 0.25%. And for emerging business enterprise, there was an increase of 0.03%. For verified percentages, not much has changed except for the women business enterprise percentages, which increased by 0.01%. And for the small business enterprise, there was an increase of 0.12%. As far as achieved, there's an increase for minority business enterprise of 0.01%. For women business enterprise, there's an increase of 0.02%, and for local business, there's an increase of 0.1%. We anticipate an increase of percentages for pledged amounts within the next month due to the anticipated submission of Wave 3 of the BIP on ramp advertisement for subcontracting amounts. And that is the end of my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, BCA, for providing that information. So now we're going to talk about the progress and look ahead, and it's going to be split into 6 different categories. First one now being fire, life safety, mechanical, electrical, and plumbing. So the way this presentation is, structured is there's accomplishments by the end of April 3rd, which we now know is now April 22nd, and then updates of the 30-day look ahead. So there's going to be some information that is outdated and has been good updates since then. So we're going to go over them. So the key accomplishments since April is the city issued a directive letter requiring the developer to prepare a revised campus-wide rational analysis of the existing fire life safety systems, and the city and the developer tentatively agreed on a 2-phase approach on the rational analysis and smoke control design. And right now we're reviewing the developer's proposal to separate the fire life safety and smoke control issues into 4 stages. So essentially there was an issue with getting the full permit to perform the actual building, the expansion building itself. And in order for them to get the full permit, they had to do a rational analysis and assessment of how the smoke control system would work in the new building and the existing building together. And there's some issues in regards to us coordinating and making sure that what their rational analysis is going to be suitable with the LAFD and LADBS. So we've asked to buy some time and to really fully understand what that scope is and implications to decouple the permits to allow them to be able to have the permit so they can do the expansion, and also for them to continue in parallel and conjunction to do the assessment on the existing buildings so we won't impact Olympics readiness. So that's what that 4-phase strategy is that the joint venture submitted. And we're currently reviewing it. The fire department and BOE and LA DBS is currently reviewing it. But we're very hopeful because we did get verbal agreement that we can go through with this process of decoupling the permits. And then other items is the team has identified a single upgraded generator to replace 2 older generators in the West Hall. So that's a good upgrade as well. We're going to replace 2 old ones with 1 new one. The 30-day look ahead as for April is moving forward on a campus-wide fire life safety smoke control strategy, reviewing the proposed phased approach, which I just described, investigatory field studies and development of a rational analysis. A new dedicated group will advance the Regulation 4 alignment, deficiency tracking, and requirement 101 coordination, continuing PICO passage fire life safety coordination to resolve outstanding classification and design considerations. And this is what we're working with LA Fire Department and seeing that the model that the designers are putting together will be suitable for the full design, and making sure that whatever potentially could happen, such as a 250 megawatt explosion from a fire tanker, won't compromise the building, and using other methods to reduce that to 100 megawatt fire through a sprinkler system, and going through that analyses and working with the fire department to make sure everything that we're proposing in the design complies with the NFPA 502 code, which is a National Fire Protection Agency code. And then continuing coordination on emergency power strategy to support system integration and reliability. Category 2 for the progress look ahead is construction, Department of Water and Power coordination. As of April 3rd, the contractor was removing and rerouted DWP electrical cables with only one vault at the West Hall remaining. The rerouted cables will support ongoing construction across West Hall, South Hall, and nearby support satellite vaults and solar panels. So that's nearly completed. I believe the West Hall vault is going to be completed this week. And then there were power outages and damage to an AT&T line and a vault lid that have been reported. Reporting protocols are being reviewed as repairs are underway. So there was an incident of when they were doing the demolition of the South Hall, one of the columns came and destructed a vault lid, but that's currently under control, and we're taking care of that. And there was also some incidences of power being out because of penetration of some of the lines, but that's also being coordinated, and we're doing extra special care to make sure that there's hydrovacing and utility GPR testing to make sure we don't hit any active lines. The contractor will focus on the next sequence of construction activities for South and West Hall to prepare for foundations and grading. So that's currently happening right now because utilities have to be done beforehand. Coordinating schedule of cutovers, outages with LACC operations, that's LA Convention Center, APCLA, and Department of Water and Power. The team will coordinate nighttime and daytime work windows to minimize disruptions to LACC and DWP operations and other field activities. That's another positive thing that we're doing. There's a lot of night activity and night work to make sure we're coordinated, and we're also coordinating heavily with the events of the LA Convention Center because they currently have activities back to back. It's very popular for scheduling events. And then the cable pulling for the final vault will wrap up at the end of April. And right now you see a photo of the network station foundation being graded right now, partially graded, or pad graded, but it's going to have they're going to start pouring the foundation on top of that. The next category is expansion design development. Coordinating efforts are underway to resolve the city owner comments not addressed by the developer or gaps in align on design solutions for a building management system, PICO passage, systems integration, and IT systems. And the building management system, these are all the different systems that the expansion building and the existing building will have to intertwine and coordinate with. And that's a very complicated, so there's a lot of very focused work activities. We're currently holding 50% construction document meetings for this, and we're trying to just resolve every issue that we see from city owner comments, and also Department of Building and Safety, comments from these, making sure that all the systems jive with one another: fire, life, and safety, smoke, elevators, alarm systems, lighting, HVAC, everything that a functioning building would need. Right now, here's a photo that is AT&T conduits to existing manhole installation. This is part of the utilities on the previous, should be on the previous slide, but this also shows the extent to which we have to use communications as part of the building management system. So we relocated the new AT&T conduit located on Pico and LA Live Way, and that's a photo of that. Digital signage. The 100% digital design documents for signage, they've been completed, and we sent the comments back to the developer, and they've already submitted 50% construction documents. And when we got the cost estimate for it, it was about $9 million. over. And we've asked for more supplemental documentation to justify the $9 million because they haven't allowed, this is part of the allowance item that's $147 million. Now the cost at that stage came out to, at the 100% DD level, came out to $157 million. And the reasons for that were increasing for electrical equipment, general requirements, and project and staff job costs. So once they've submitted the 50% CD documents, once they submit the actual cost estimate for it with our comments, we're hoping to see a decrease in that cost so we can stick within our allowance item we have with digital signage. And these are the digital signages described in the beginning where we have the 6 large ones. It's going to be a great feature to this project. And the next category, permitting. Received the core and shell structural permits for the Fire Command Center permit and Network Station permit. The developers resolving outstanding LADBS comments to obtain mechanical, electrical, plumbing permits for the FCC permit and Network Station permit. Early foundations permit cleared following tentative approval of alternate design solution. Outstanding comments from LAFD and LADOT on the alternative solution to be addressed. So this is one of the bigger items that we have on our project. This is about the Pico Passage and being able for the Los Angeles Fire Department to accept the design that's currently for the existing expansion building. And when we say LADOT coordination is right now, as of right now, even though we're currently working with LAFD, they allowed the design as currently existing as long as there is going to be a barricade to not allow oil tankers to go through. So right now, the maximum height or the minimum height you have is 15 feet if you can have a barrier, but oil tankers are between 12.5 feet to 14 feet. If we allow a barrier to disallow oil tankers to go through, then LAFD will accept the design that we have. But right now, we can't get past that traffic code. So we're trying to work with LADOT as a plan B to see if we're not able to get our design completed in a design satisfactory to LAFD to have that as a plan B. And of course, you're probably wondering, well, if you're going to restrict it for 12.5 feet, what about the chartered buses? What about everyone else? Well, we'll have a plan in place where they can go on Gilbert Lindsay Drive and have somebody man that station there to allow them to go through and they coordinate ahead of time. Ultimately, we're not trying to close down Pico Passage because that will be the last resort with anything. And what that means is closing down Pico Passage, meaning no vehicles of any kind can go through. And that's going to be an issue due to amending the environmental document, amending the general plan. And that can take months. So we're really hoping and really pushing to work very closely with the fire department to get this design completed and permitted so we can start steel construction in July and work on the building. So yeah, next batch of priority permits include a DWP network stationing and fire command center. And those are going well. The network stationing and fire command center, that's not an issue. Change management. As reported before, there were relief events that were presented in the slide. Relief event notices and relief event claims. So the joint venture has submitted around 16 relief events notices consisting fire life safety deficiencies in the existing building, unforeseen utilities, unforeseen conditions due to utilities, unforeseen conditions due to some foundations or hazardous material. Right now, only 2 relief event claims have came through, and we're reviewing that information. They're starting to submit supplemental information to the information that we're putting, that we've asked for. And we're making sure we have a standardized developer correspondence review process and supporting entitlement review activities, including workshop preparation, briefing materials, and related governance refinements. So we can really go over in a timely manner all these relief event notices and claims to make sure that everything is addressed and we're all coordinated and making sure this doesn't cause any kind of delay of any sort. A 30-day look ahead, we're refining owner positions for our relief event claims related to the discovery of latent defects on the fire life safety and smoke control systems and mechanical test inspection panels. We're reviewing the notice of relief events 3 through 16, and refining processes for allowance orders, change orders, and requests for information. So with our current system that we use our E2020 system, as you know. Our project agreement that we have and the way the technical requirements read is not, sometimes is not always compatible with the way E2020 operates and generates their reports and all the different notices. So we're currently working with the city attorney's office to try to marry the two, get all the language in the project agreement and try to transfer it onto E2020 so we can start issuing these change orders and allowance orders through E2020 instead of the correspondences that we're doing right now per the PA, the project agreement that we have. And right now, what you see on the photo is the demolition of one of the mechanical rooms in the South Hall. So key risks and mitigation summary. A lot of these were described in some detail on the previous 6 items I mentioned. Fire life and safety, the description, design approval and construction affected by the existing fire life and safety systems, regulation 4 deficiencies within the smoke control, fire alarm, sprinkler, and mechanical will require verification and recertification. The joint ventures developing the revised rational analysis for the entire campus, forming a dedicated working group and coordinating with authorities having jurisdiction, Bureau of Engineering, and the joint venture to determine responsibilities, potential solutions, and next steps. So right now, the joint venture is putting together their proposal and their team to do a rational analysis and assessment of the existing building, 2 buildings, and also the new building together to do that whole assessment. And that will inform what the full scope of design will be to upgrading the existing facilities, as we don't know what that full scope is yet. And we have to do the assessment and rational analysis and design first. Pico Passage, the joint venture differed from the city view that Pico Passage's covered section meets NFPA's tunnel definition, thus subject to certain time of fire-safe construction design regulations. The 50% CD did not satisfy NFPA 502 compliance was not accepted by LAFD, putting the early foundation permit approval at risk, alternative designs required to prevent delays. So the mitigation is LAFD has provided tentative approval over the alternative design, but DOT concerns need to be addressed. BOE meeting with city entities as the joint venture continues to work closely with LAFD to receive comments on the initial design. So this is effectuating what I was describing before, that we're able to decouple the permits, but we're also, when it comes to the actual design of the existing or the expansion project over Pico, that their analyses and their modeling will satisfy the NFPA and all the information that the fire department has asked for. And if it doesn't, of course, this plan B that we're trying to work in conjunction is really to amend the code to just not allow oil tankers to go through. Closing it legally would also work too. I mean, closing it legally by sense would work, which that means you put signage on, no vehicles that are hazardous, and we put that also ahead of time. But there's a big concern that no one's going to follow those rules. But of course, that's also ideally we can do it legally, but it won't get approved. Right, as of right now, that's not the direction of getting approval. Signage cost overrun, material cost overrun risk with current estimates indicating the total program may exceed signage allowance by 9.9 million, and risk-weighted analysis suggested a potential additional 20 million exposure, reducing a total projected cost overrun of 30 million. Now, 9.9 million I described before was for additional electrical equipment at that 50% or 100% DD stage, owner costs, allowances, other job expense costs, and that $20 million is for unforeseens that we can't see now. Unforeseen conditions, maybe some design changes that are going to get developed as we move towards the 100% construction documents, as well as maybe some code issues that need to get complied with. But we are currently having meetings to further discuss this to make sure that we do what we can to stay within our limits so we don't have to exceed the allowance item of $147 million. Design development, the joint venture is seeking to bring forward 90% construction documents for LADBS submission. So this has already been done. So that's already been submitted. And this is for the larger project, the expansion project to do the construction. And this reduction in time could result in comments that will not be incorporated into 90% CD. A gaps analysis identified 56 design solution items requiring delivery dates and resolution commitments from the joint venture. All items must be resolved before the next design submission. So we're currently working with the joint venture, and we're currently working with the team to resolve these comments, and Department of Building and Safety will also be providing those comments as well. We're hoping to get 100% construction documents by June, so there could be start working in July, so we can.
Project that this board is considered in our tenure. So in the future, I would love to be briefed on this in advance of today's meeting. And I'd love to have a report before the meeting, because it's kind of hard to go through and try to fully understand everything that the two of you are addressing with regard to your respective responsibilities in a nutshell. How many claims have been filed so far?
2 relief event claims.
Just 2?
2 for fire life safety issues.
Okay, so any of those close to being resolved at this point, or is it too early?
It's too early to tell. There's some supplemental information that we still need to receive, from them. And yes.
And I used to know at one point when there was, I think I've seen something with regard to what those claims are related to.
Yes, there was a slide, I believe, on the previous update that had all those claims and what they're, what the description of those claims and what they are, and when they were submitted. I believe it's not included on this slide, but we'll make sure to include it on the future slides.
Okay. I have that report up at desk. I'll take a look at it, and if I have any questions, I'll follow up with you. With regard to the project labor agreement, Mr. Monte, it looks like on our local hire hours, we're doing fine, at least with regard to transitional worker hours. It looks like it's going up as of March 2026, which was a good thing. What is the difference between when we talk about total apprentice hours and local apprentice hours?
So the difference is total apprentice hours are all the apprentices on the project, whether they live in the city or not. Local apprentice hours are only those residents that are bona fide apprentices that live within the PLA zip codes, or are also considered transitional workers, which then expands the reach to all of the city. So it's not all the city zip codes in the PLA.
With regard to transitional workers, are you satisfied that the number, or at least the percentage, is going up in the right direction? At least as of March.
So let me use a different word. I'm hopeful. That word was used yesterday in one of the council committee meetings. And I'm hopeful, but this is why I'm hopeful. I've seen, because we look at these numbers every day, I've seen a gradual but steady increase with transitional. I have no problem giving flowers when they're due, while we always, again, keep the context of there's more work to be done. April, while it's not finished yet, is the first month that overall the numbers, or at least for the month, they're all exceeding the PLA's metrics. For April, as of today, they're at 39% local hire for the month. They're at 58% local apprentice for the month. They're at 13% transitional for the month. Now, that's a great thing. It shows that steady incline. If they continue to do this over the course of the project, I'm hopeful that the project will be in compliance and stay in compliance. So I don't know that I'm satisfied, but I'm hopeful based on what I'm currently seeing.
Now let's go to places where we need to concentrate and figure out when these so-called pledged businesses
occurring on a daily basis, accomplishing this, the largest project that is currently happening in the city while there's a convention facility with events and exhibitors and attendees on a daily basis is no small feat, and I think is really a testament to all the teams that are working on site to ensure that progress is happening, that workers are safe, that economic activity is occurring. There's a lot of goals that we've given the staff, and so I really hats off to all of you for navigating all the challenges. There have not been small challenges. With small projects come big challenges, including all of the things that you delineated and have been delineated in previous progress updates here. I think that, we have to have eyes on the prize with achieving that Olympic readiness deadline. I think that's what we're all focused on, keeping it on track. Thank you for the updates on the fire life safety. I know that a lot of meetings have been happening on that, and I know that city staff are handling those fire and life safety systems with the thoroughness that they deserve. And I know that the city has been very proactive in ensuring that the developer addresses the issues in a comprehensive manner. So we appreciate that responsible work and action on that. On the workforce hiring, and the business inclusion, these are long-range program and project end goals. As stated in the report, they're not monthly minimums. And I know that we're still in the early stages of this multi-year program and that the trends are going in the right direction. I think it would be really helpful to maybe at the next progress update to receive a update from the developer that helps give us a kind of a roadmap of what the goals are, what does this look like in terms of breaking it down. I think that would be really helpful, not just for us, the board, but for the public, that these are really the public-facing updates on this project that are done in a very predictable manner. So I think I would really appreciate if you could work with the developers' representatives on there, I know they're here, to have a little bit better that snapshot and kind of just walk us through what that looks like, and what that outreach, because I know so many hours of outreach are going into ensuring that all those goals are on track and are going to be met by the end. So I would appreciate that.
All right, no, thank you.
That's it.
Thank you very much. Any other questions before? Just real quick on the business inclusion, there's gaps. I know some of you touched on it between the anticipated and the actual. Yes. Are there currently discussions going on to kind of close some of that gap between MBE and WBE?
WBE to close that gap. Sorry, could you repeat that?
Sure. There seems to be a gap between anticipated versus actual participation for MBE and WBE.
EE and anticipated or pledged?
Anticipated
Anticipated.
versus actual participation.
Actual participation. Actual participation as far as achieved goes, or verified? I'm sorry, I need more clarification.
Wait, let me pull it up really quick. With verified.
With verified. So there is an effort to close that gap. Verified, when we mention verified or list verified, it means verified amounts derived from approved subcontractor Schedule A forms submitted to date, and then also approved by SRI or in inspection. So Currently, PWJV, or the joint venture, is submitting requests for approval for these firms to work on the projects when there's and there's a difference between that and what is pledged. Pledged is what is submitted, is what's listed on the Schedule A's. So even if there is pledged, it doesn't necessarily mean, as far as verified goes, it that doesn't necessarily mean that they are scheduled to work, or these firms are scheduled to work on the project yet. So, but hopefully, given time, that bridge or that gap will get smaller.
Okay,
Mhm.
thank you. Another question related to claims. There seems to be around 16 relief event notices currently under review.
Yes.
Are there any potential financial exposure related to those notices?
In terms of we're still examining the fire life safety claims that are here. Right now, it's too early to tell. There has been some rough order magnitudes, which we're not ready to share publicly because we have to still vet it out. And it really, until they do a full analysis of the building and assessment, we can't really get a full honed down cost for it. Right now, it's very rough order magnitude, very class 5, very high level, because we don't know what we don't know in terms of what it is, yeah.
Okay, then we'll follow up afterwards. And then related to the utility conflicts on Pico Boulevard, that
Yes.
seems to be blocking the early foundation work. Is there a rough timeline of when do you anticipate to be resolved?
Well, that's been resolved.
That has been resolved.
That has been resolved.
Okay.
Yeah, so this is a little bit stale information. Since that time, they've found a solution, they rerouted.
Great. So good to hear. Thank you very much. I don't have any additional questions. Commissioners, any other feedback or comments? All right, seeing none, thank you very much.
And
yes,
to answer Commissioner Mitchell's question, yes, in the future, for these updates, we'll brief you ahead of time, brief the board ahead of time. And if any of you want to take a job site visit, please let us know, and we'll be very happy to do it.
And remind me, I know there's like a event being planned for the workers.
May 8th.
May 8th, okay.
A barbecue, which you guys are invited to.
Okay, thank you very much.
Oh,
Yes.
sorry, excuse me?
Briefing, she's
Yeah,
requesting briefing.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much.
All right, thank you.
Ms. Reyes, I believe that concludes our items for today.
Yes, it does.
All right. The next Board of Public Works meeting will be on Friday, April 24, 2026. The meeting now is adjourned at 11:51 a.m.